I believe absolutely that there is no place in our profession for certainty because we live in an uncertain world. And I have a slight idea what's going to happen tomorrow. I have a suspicion of what's going to happen in a year, but I absolutely don't think I know for sure. And so how can anybody be certain about anything? And how can anybody say has to or can't or always or never? I just think that anybody who thinks that way is getting into trouble. Mark Twain is purported. There are a lot of quotations attributed to Twain, but usually with the word purportedly. He's purported to have said that history does not repeat, but it does rhyme. He also is purported to have said something extremely important, which is that it ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for certain that just ain't true. And there's nothing wrong with not knowing something. And in fact, I had lunch with one of my colleagues today, just now. And, I was talking to him about all the stuff I don't know. And I think it's very, very important for your success and your self-protection to be extremely brutally frank about all the stuff you don't know. And that way you never get into trouble. If I had to drive from London to Leeds, what would I do? I'd get a map. I'd turn on the GPS. I would ask directions, and I would drive slowly to make sure I don't pass my exit. But if I think I know the way, I don't get a map. I don't turn on the GPS. I don't ask directions. I drive fast as hell because I'm confident of the route. And if it turns out I was wrong, I end up in Devon. Someone said, I can't remember who, two kinds of people get into trouble. The people who know nothing and the people who know everything. So it's not good to say, I don't know anything, because if you feel you don't know anything, you clearly can't succeed in a future-oriented business. Nassim Nicholas Taleb, who wrote Fooled by Randomness, would say you should become a dentist because there are no vagaries in dentistry, according to him. You're not going to succeed if you know nothing, but you're also not going to succeed if you think you know everything, because then you don't take advice and you don't hedge your bets and you plunge and you put all your chips on black, and that's a good way to get carried out. I'm a big believer in something called intellectual humility. And, intellectual humility is just another word for the other person could be right. There's a tendency to say, well, if you can't predict, how can you prepare? Predicting is how you understand what's going to happen. And preparing is making ready for what's going to happen. So how can you prepare for what's going to happen if you don't know what's going to happen? And the answer is, if you think you know what's going to happen, you're an idiot. So preparing really means not preparing for one outcome, but for having a portfolio or approach to life which prepares you for a range of outcomes. I think that's where success lies. And, too many people in the investment business say, I think this is going to happen in the economy. This is going to happen with rates. This is going to happen with markets. This is going to happen with this industry. And this is what's going to happen with this company. And if you get all five of those right, then you end up rich as Croesus. But what's the probability of getting all five right? And if you specify, I call that single scenario investing. And if you specify that single scenario and invest as if you're right out of certainty, and it turns out a few of those things surprise you, might the investment portfolio you have fashioned be absolutely wrong and out of phase and disastrous? So preparing for a single outcome, I think, is a mistake in an uncertain world. And all we can do as investors is prepare for a variety of outcomes. We want a portfolio that will do well if the things we think are most likely happen, pretty good if the other things that we think are likely happen, and not terribly
if the things we don't think will happen. Now, that's not easy. And it's complicated by the fact that there's nothing you can do that can prepare you optimally for all scenarios. So you have to say, which scenarios do I want to prepare for? Which range of scenarios do I think will fall into, and if I'm ready for them, will make me good money? And which ones do I not have to prepare for? You can't prepare for them all, by definition.